There's certainly 24-karat magic in the air where Bruno Mars is concerned. In the last decade, he's gone from a relatively unknown songwriter with a penchant for producing some top-notch lyrics to one of the richest and most prominent musicians of our time. His list of achievements doesn't ever end. He's got 6 #1 singles. He spent 30 combined weeks at the top of the chart, or 44 if you count Uptown Funk. And then there are the 2 albums, 26 million in sales worldwide, and a handful of Grammys. After working so hard for his success, you can bet that Bruno knows how to spend it. Before we tell you exactly what flashy jewelry Bruno is splashing out on, make sure to like this video, subscribe to The Richest, and join our notification squad. Now let's get into how Bruno Mars spends his millions. With an estimated net worth of $110 million, it's safe to say that Bruno Mars is rolling with the best. And with lyrics talking about his favorite designer brands and the money he splashes out on entertainment, it would be easy to assume that he's always lived a life of luxury. But it's important first to note that Bruno didn't come from riches. In fact, his start in life was quite the opposite. Born Peter Hernandez on October 8, 1985, Peter, who we now know much better as Bruno, lived in extreme poverty in Manoa Valley, Hawaii. His childhood was spent sleeping on rooftops in Honolulu and even in the back of limousines. When he reached his teenage years, things improved, but only slightly. Bruno went from sleeping on rooftops to living and sleeping in a rundown building in the ironically named Paradise Park section of the island. But while he struggled financially, he found solace in music. His father was a Latin percussionist and his mother was a singer. The family played shows with Bruno's uncle's band on Waikiki Beach, covering Motown hits and doo-wop melodies. From the age of 4, he was known as Little Elvis for his impersonations of the king at a variety show in Hawaii. Everyone in his family either played an instrument or sang, and so Bruno was always surrounded by music. Even though his early years might have been a struggle, it's clear that Bruno had a fairly happy childhood and Hawaii remained an important place for him. That might be why he splashed out on a $3.1 million property in Honolulu. Bruno bought the 4-bedroom, 4,124 square foot home in Portlock in 2012 from John Browning, heir to the Utah-based firearms company Browning, for $3.1 million, according to property records. But it seems like Bruno knows not only how to spend his money, but also how to look after it properly, which is evident from the fact that after he decided to relocate to LA, he put his Hawaii house on the market. It was initially up for $3.5 million, but dropped to $2.7 million before someone else purchased it. Bruno first moved to LA before, in 2003, shortly after graduating from high school at 17. Unfortunately, he didn't have much success at first. At this point, he adopted the moniker Bruno Mars, which stemmed from his childhood nickname of Bruno. Bruno said, "Bruno is after Bruno Sammartino, who was this big, fat wrestler. I guess I was this chunky little baby, so my dad used to call me that as a nickname. The Mars came up just because I felt like I didn't have no pizzazz, and a lot of girls say I'm out of this world." At this point in time, Bruno was driving a Volkswagen Jetta. It had one window that wouldn't roll down in the summer and no locks on the door, and of course, no radio or AC. This cheap car was within his price range for the time being, before he made it big. Bruno got signed by Motown Records in 2004, but the deal went nowhere. But that's not to say that it took too many years for Bruno's career to skyrocket. You can trace his songwriting credibility back to 2009 when he co-wrote Flo Rida and Kesha's song, Right Round. The catchy hit broke the Billboard 100 and pushed him into the limelight, where he went on to write more lyrics for some of the top names in the business. 2 of the projects he was a part of, Nothing on You with B.O.B. and Billionaire with Travie McCoy, both earned top 10 status. He also wrote the lyrics for artists like Alexandra Burke, Travie McCoy, Adam Levine, Brandy, Sean Kingston, and the Sugar Babes. And in 2010, after spending lots of time writing songs for other people, Bruno got the chance to sing for himself. He released Nothing on You, which became a #1 hit on the Billboard Singles Chart. Shortly after, he released his first album, Doo-Wops and Hooligans. A solo career was about to take off, and he achieved more than any male vocalist had achieved in the last 20 years. If you look into the stats and success of each track, you'll notice something truly impressive. The first 4 solo Bruno Mars songs released all became top 10 singles. By 2015, Bruno Mars had definitely made a name for himself, so he decided it was time to splurge on a bigger property in LA. He chose to buy a 9,000 square foot home in the Studio City neighborhood of Los Angeles, California, full of luxurious items. Bruno paid a huge $6.5 million for his home, which is located on 2 acres of land in the same neighborhood where Hollywood superstar George Clooney lives. Inside the incredibly fancy property, you'll find a wine cellar, a bar, and an entire wing just for children to hang out in. There's also a steam room and dry sauna, an infinity pool and heated cabana, and a children's playground. Bruno is a fan of nature and artwork, which likely stems from a childhood surrounded by trees. You'll find both of these things placed prominently inside his white-walled mansion. Perhaps more importantly, Bruno's huge California house has room for 12 cars. He's thought to have spent around $1.8 million on his car collection, and he owns a few of the best luxury cars in the world. Bruno owns a Rolls-Royce that costs an estimated $289,000, a Cadillac XTS that costs between $72,000 and $92,000, and more recently an Alante Cadillac that Curbside Classic lists as having a price tag of $54,000. You might have noticed that final car in the music video for his track 24 Karat Magic. It's a far cry from the car he was driving around only a few years back. Everybody knows that a fancy car is best complemented by an equally outstanding outfit, and Bruno doesn't disappoint. Growing up incredibly poor meant that most of his clothes were shared amongst his family and siblings, so there was little opportunity to develop his own personal brand. But luckily, his ever-increasing fame and fortune has given him the chance to wear whatever he wants, and he's using that freedom to his advantage. Bruno's fashion sense could be best described as extra, and he loves his designer brands. One of his top choices seems to be Versace, which means that his outfits can easily run into the thousands of dollars bracket. Bruno likes to wear silky track jackets, gold chains, and sunglasses as his day-to-day styles. But when he dresses up, you'll find him in tuxedo shirts, fur coats, and sequins. More often than not, though, he's dressed head to toe in Versace. Bruno also loves to splurge on jewelry. His favorite and most worn piece is the Versace Medusa medallion chain necklace, which retails for a couple $1,000s. This was most prominently seen when he released the video for 24 Karat Magic, in which he was spotted wearing layer upon layer of flashy goods. As well as his Medusa chain, Bruno also wore a diamond-encrusted pinky ring, a flashy watch, and more necklaces. He also likes more unusual pieces and has a penchant for jewelry with a history. He said, "I've always had a thing for pawn shop gold. I don't get gold you can get at a mall. To me, that doesn't tell a story. I want to see pirate gold, like coin rings and pendants." We guess it's fair to say that you can't typically buy Versace pendants at the mall either. He doesn't only spend his dollars on fancy jewelry for himself, though. Bruno gifted each of his 7 band members a $55,000 watch as a way of saying thank you for all of their hard work. "My boys continue to show the world what time it is, and a band that sings together blings together," he wrote on the photos of the designer watches. When he's not hard at work, Bruno likes to vacation at some of the fanciest resorts around the world. During his 24 Karat World Tour, he stopped off in Mexico to catch some sun and spend some time relaxing without the disruption of fans. Bruno chilled out at a Punta Mita resort, sunbathing in his signature tropical shorts and fishing with his friends. He also, perhaps unsurprisingly, likes to head back to Hawaii every so often for a quick and well-deserved break. You might have correctly expected that Bruno devotes a lot of his time and money to charitable causes. It would be unusual for him not to, considering the hardships he faced when he was younger. And the money he spent on various different charities spans many different causes. He's put money towards charities surrounding at-risk and disadvantaged youths, bullying, and disaster relief. Then there's his work to help education, health, the environment, human rights, philanthropy, poverty, unemployment, and career support, and women's causes. Bruno donated $100,000 to Typhoon Yolanda victims in 2014, and then also held a benefit concert at the Mall of Asia Arena to raise more money. In the same year, he started the Bruno Mars Scholarship Fund with the Hawaii Community Foundation to help kids from Hawaii with tuition fees. And finally, he's one of the 34 musicians to support Musicians on Call, an initiative that looks to bring recorded and live music to patients in hospitals and healthcare facilities. But perhaps his most charitable move that really drives home his incredible journey over the years was how he decided to end his 24 Karat Magic World Tour. The last date of the tour took place in his hometown of Honolulu, Hawaii, and Bruno went out with a bang. Back in November 2018, on this date, Bruno provided meals to 24,000 Hawaii residents in need, during the Thanksgiving holiday as a way of giving back to his hometown. The number in question was used as a nod to the name of the tour that had taken him across the world on more than 200 dates spanning almost 2 years of his life. The move provided aid to the Salvation Army, Hawaiian and Pacific Islands Division's 48th annual Thanksgiving dinner meal program. By doing so, he single-handedly expanded its reach across the state by covering the cost to provide meals to an additional 24,000 people in need of a complete holiday Thanksgiving meal. His donation was one of the kindest ways that he could give back to his state. That's all for how Bruno Mars spends his million. What do you think of Bruno's spending habits? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to The Richest.